All right, nice job.
All right.
All right, I'll start letting people in, okay?
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Mardi Gras.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Good to see you, Commissioner Alexander, Commissioner Stieg,
Thank you.
Ms. Quigley, Mr. Kroll, Mr. Wiegberg. Thank you for doing your civic duty today.
You are welcome.
Kramer.
Right.
We've been there. Let's just say that. Mr. Massey, let's see. I've been asked to run the meeting today. Lucky you all. And we will start as soon as we have a quorum. Stephen, thank you for sending me those meeting notes.
Yeah, of course. I was glad that I could find them.
I was looking for them and thought, surely I have them. And then I obviously couldn't find them. So thank you. Welcome, everyone. We're just waiting for a quorum. I think we need at least one more to start. Missy, can I start reading the rules before we have a quorum?
Yes, you can do that. We just can't take any action.
Okay. I'll call the meeting to order February 22nd. This is 2/2/22.
Wait, we can't call the meeting to order until we quorum though.
All right. I'll just start reading.
Or you could describe the palindrome as today.
I could describe what?
Today is a palindrome.
Oh, maybe I should let you do that.
It's called Tuesday, TWO Day, and it's 2-2-2-2. It reads the same forward and backward. It's a palindrome. Anyway, just a little less
Thank
known
you.
throughout the day. Now I'll go on mute.
Hello, Mr. Rivers. Welcome.
Hello, how is everyone?
We're good. We're good.
I was going to say it's palindrome week because every day this week is the same frontwards and backwards.
Oh,
It is.
this is a high IQ level crew we got going on here today. I only expect
Just,
the best.
just read us the story in USA Today. It was very interesting.
It looks like we have a quorum if Commissioner Wiegberg and Commissioner Stewart are actually here.
Commissioner Wiedberg is here.
Okay. Commissioner Stewart, are you here? He's here, but not really.
Commissioner Stewart, could you please let us know that you're here so we can start the meeting? Nope, we see him. Okay, there's this good.
I'm here.
All right.
Fantastic. Welcome everyone to February 22nd, 2022. The City Planning Commission, I will call to order the commissioners. Let's see, let me go in order here. Commissioner Alexander.
Present.
Commissioner Stieg.
Here.
Commissioner Wiegberg.
Present.
Commissioner Stewart,
Present.
Commissioner Witchery is present. I don't think I missed anybody. Go ahead and read the special public hearing rules or the approval of minutes. Could I please have a motion to approve the February 8th meeting minutes?
So moved by Commissioner Stewart.
Commissioner Stewart, is there a second?
Speak seconds.
Steeg seconds. The meeting minutes have been approved by Stewart and seconded by Steeg. Thank you, gentlemen.
We need to vote.
Thank you. Commissioner Alexander,
Yes.
Commissioner Steeg,
Yes.
Commissioner Weber,
Yes.
Commissioner Stewart,
Yes.
Commissioner Witchery, yes. The motion passes.
Commissioner Brown is also here.
Thank you. Welcome, Commissioner Brown. Please note Commissioner Brown is present. Commissioner Brown, would you like to vote on the meeting
Yes.
minutes? Okay,
Yes,
Commissioner Brown.
thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Now, for the third time, I will read the special public hearing rules. Order of business. The order of business at the hearing shall be as follows. Call to order and roll call with recording of members present, approval of minutes, reading of the hearing rules, presentation of dockets, staff presentation, applicant presentation, question from members. There will be a recess for 30 minutes, consideration of dockets. Then we will have public comment, rebuttal by applicant, questions from members, voting, and adjournment. Regarding the presentation of dockets, the order of business for each docket shall be as follows. The presentation by the City Planning Commission staff, presentation by the applicant or their representative. The appellant or applicant may appear on their behalf or be represented by a duly authorized agent. Only one representative may speak on behalf of a request and must pre-registered with the staff of the City Planning Commission. Other representatives or speakers may sign up to provide comments during the public comment portion of the meeting. The applicant shall be allowed a maximum of 2 minutes. There's our 2 number again, 2 minutes. The question for members. The members have an opportunity to ask questions of the staff or applicant. Recess. The commission shall take a 30-minute recess to allow members of the public to comment. Public comment. Rules. Only written public comment will be allowed. Live public comment will not be allowed. No member of the public may submit more than 1 written comment per agenda item. Time allowed for public comment. The public comment form will be made available at the start of the meeting and will close at the end of the 30-minute recess. Public comments must be submitted electronically on the form provided by the City Planning Commission. Any comment missing this information will not be read out loud. Each submission must contain the commenter's first and last name, the commenter's address, whether the commenter is being paid in connection with his or her comments, the agenda item. Commissioner Steeg, will you please put yourself on mute? Thank you. Reading of public comments. A moderator will read into the record all comments pertaining to that item that have been submitted in accordance with these rules. Comments will be read aloud in a normal speaking voice. The moderator will discontinue reading a comment once it exceeds 2 minutes. Rebuttal by applicant. Following the public comment period, if there is opposition, the authorized representative of the application is allowed a rebuttal not to exceed 2 minutes. Question from members. Following the public comment and rebuttal, the members have an opportunity to ask questions of the staff or applicant. Voting. Making a motion. The member making a motion shall clearly state their name when making a motion. For example, I, Katie Witchery, move to approve, deny the request. Seconding a motion. The member seconding a motion shall clearly state their name when seconding the motion. For example, I second the motion. Statement by chair. The chair will reinstate the motion confirming who made and seconded the motion. The chair will request a verbal vote from each member by roll call. Each member will indicate yea to vote in support of the motion or nay to vote in opposition. Presentation of dockets. Zoning docket 002-22.
Thank you. This is Stephen. My video is giving me trouble, so I apologize for that. This is a application to rezone a property on Washington Avenue, just off of Barone, Uptown. And it's, as this map shows, it's situated within a two-family residential district, which is in sort of the yellowy color. That is adjacent to and sort of surrounded by a multifamily residential district that runs generally along St. Charles and on the opposite side of Washington. And so in kind of broad strokes, the zoning districts follow the development pattern that exists, where the areas that are, where singles and doubles predominate have a two-family zoning, and those areas that have a higher concentration of multifamily have a multifamily zoning. This particular property is on the border of those two districts and reads from the street as a double, and has been zoned for many years, since the 70s, as a double, but is actually developed with a fourplex. And the property owner is seeking to reconcile the zoning with the land use such that it has multifamily zoning that matches its use as a fourplex. And so that's the application, is to move this zoning boundary line over so that this becomes part of the multifamily zoning rather than part of the two-family zoning. In general, in historic neighborhoods such as this, as I said, the zoning matches the land use patterns. And so given that matching up and resolving the discrepancy between zoning and land use is appropriate and therefore is justifiable in our analysis. And so the staff recommends approval of the zoning change.
Thank you, Stephen. Is there an applicant available?
Yes, we're here. I'm here.
Welcome.
Thank you.
You have 2 minutes.
Okay, thanks. First off, thanks to the CPC staff, Sabine, Colin, Aspen, for patiently answering all my questions. Thank you very much. I'll be brief. I don't have much to add to the very comprehensive report, but I would just like to bring in the personal side of our petition. Kelly, my husband, and I both work in the service industry. In 2011, we used our savings to purchase this fourplex with an eye to a retirement someday. Our plan is to live in an income-producing property that would help us sustain, our living situation currently, and in the hopefully not too distant future when we're no longer able to physically wait tables and give bike tours. The house has been a fourplex since anyone in the neighborhood can remember. Our closest neighbor, Miss Audrey Browder, has been here since the 60s. Her grandmother owned the house that she now lives in next door, and she doesn't remember it being anything but a fourplex. So we just like to correct the zoning to reflect the building's current and historic use. Our immediate neighbors have all been very supportive. The two closest to the right and the left of us wrote emails during the NPP process. A few others have also expressed their report during that process. And in all the conversations that we've had, everyone we've engaged with have been supportive. Wish us luck. We don't know of any opposition to our petition. We know our neighbors, they know us, we're all here for each other. We're very invested in Central City, and we hope we can afford to stay here for a very long time. And that's all I have.
Thank you so much. Commissioners, do you have any questions?
Commissioner Brown has a question for staff. Stephen, I think that you were speaking on this report, but this was Sabine's report. I do have a question about, I know I understand and completely applaud the efforts of the applicants here. I do have a question about it matching the historic land use and also the pattern of the neighborhood. Normally, when we see a spot zone like this, we go to the historic non-conforming use policy in our rules, policies, and procedures and do the general and specific checklist. I didn't see that in the report, and I think the reason was that this is an extension of a residential use and not a commercial use. But is that not considered? Is it still not considered at all?
Yeah, no, that's an excellent question. So this is technically a spot zone as it's defined by the CPC rules. The CPC has a spot zoning policy, which, you know, when people talk about spot zoning, historically, it's been in the context of residential to commercial rezoning, where you have a corner store structure is the typical example.
Right.
And, you know, you're rezoning it to commercial structure. And so the spot zoning policy is very much written around identifying commercial properties. There is a spot zoning analysis in this report on page 9, but it really concludes that this cannot meet the spot zoning policy as written because that policy is written for something else. It's written contemplating a residential to commercial rezoning rather than a residential to residential rezoning. But kind of at the core of the spot zoning policy is this idea that zoning change shouldn't be arbitrary, that it shouldn't give sort of undue preferential treatment to property by way of zoning. And in this case, even though this is going from a residential to a residential district and is technically a spot zone as defined, the fact that this is a fourplex, and so is distinct by virtue of being a higher density structure from most properties in the two-family residential district, justifies treating it differently from the other properties in the two-family residential district. So I think the short way of saying that is that it technically doesn't meet the spot zoning criteria, but it meets the spirit of rezoning properties when there's a justification for doing so.
Okay, and that is the only reason I raised the question, because we don't have a specific policy addressing anything but that in our rules and policies, and because it's it goes against our spot zoning, our stance against spot zoning. We usually hang our hats on the general criteria and then the specific criteria being met before we approve this. And I just wondered if that is something we need to address, if this somehow sets precedent.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think, as we look at updating the rules, since that spot zoning policy was put into place, we have had a master plan, we've had a new zoning ordinance. So there's a lot of things that kind of inform our analysis of zoning changes that weren't there when the spot zoning policy was written. So I think it's something, as a general matter, we're going to have to look at.
For sure. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you all bringing that to attention, because Commissioner Brown, I also hesitated when I read this report, and I know that personally spot zonings is not something that I'm a big fan of. I think there are a lot of properties that are fourplexes that have been, downzoned over the years. And so just wanting to know if this is going to be our tool in moving forward, because I think that there's going to be more of these applications coming online. So Stephen, I appreciate your explanation as well. I have a question. Is there a homestead exemption in effect for this property?
Are you asking me?
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Commissioners, are there any other questions of the applicant or staff? Hearing none, we'll move on to zoning docket 01122.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Welcome.
This is a request by City Council Motion M21-366 for an amendment to the text of the comprehensive zoning ordinance provide that within the boundaries of Louis Armstrong Park, any permitted conditional use otherwise allowed in the OSR Open Space Regional District as provided in Article 7 must be determined to be ancillary to the park's past and present uses to be allowable. City Planning Commission is also authorized to consider text changes to Article 7, amending Article 18 to create a new overlay zoning district, or a map amendment that would rezone all or portions of Armstrong Park, namely the boundaries of Congo Square, to an OSN neighborhood open space district. And for this docket, the staff recommends deferral to the March 22nd City Planning Commission meeting, both at the request of the members of the community and for the staff to understand better the purpose of the motion. This motion was introduced under the previous council, and the lead council member is no longer on the council, so we're determining who she worked with in developing the motion and trying to really understand what they both want to see not happen, but as also to see what they do want to happen in Armstrong Park.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone from the city council available?
I don't think so.
Okay, such an important piece of property. So thank you so much, Paul. Are there any questions from commissioners to Paul? Hearing none, we'll move on to zoning docket 01322.
Zoning docket 01322 is a request for a conditional use to permit a child care center as a neighborhood commercial establishment in an HURD2 historic urban two-family residential district at 1635 Gallier Street. The petition site is developed with a one-story commercial structure that's previously been the site of a daycare center on several different occasions dating back to at least 2010, prior to the adoption of the current comprehensive zoning ordinance. Daycare centers are not permitted by right in the HURD2 zoning district, which meant that the current applicants were initially unable to obtain licensure to operate one at the subject property. However, childcare centers are permitted as a neighborhood commercial establishment in the HURD2 district, which requires conditional use approval. The request meets all the applicable use standards for neighborhood commercial establishments as they are put forth in Article 20, Section 23NN of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance, as well as those for child daycare centers at Article 20, Section 23S2. The staff believes that a small daycare center is, in fact, primarily a neighborhood serving use. Adverse effects, if any, such as signage or litter, can be mitigated through proper management and the provisos recommended by staff. The proposal is also consistent with the master plan. Therefore, the staff recommends approval of zoning docket 1322, subject to 13 provisos.
Thank you so much, Robin. Is there an applicant available?
There is.
Oh, Ms. Tucker, please welcome. You have 2 minutes.
Yes. We acquired the property September the 30th, 2021, because my partner and I, he actually is from the neighborhood. He used to play in front of this building. He remembered it as a daycare. It's always been a daycare, never been for residential use. Upon us doing the process of putting in the application, we spoke with people that played tetherball in front of this building. There's no apprehension in this building going back to daycare and going back to its commercial use. It's set up as a daycare. We're not looking to change it in any aspect. We just want the zoning so that we can continue to serve the community as a daycare. So we request approval, please. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Tucker. Are there any questions for the applicant or for staff, commissioners? I have one question. Is it currently operating as a daycare or has it been, and you may have answered this already, but is it currently being operating one or no?
It cannot operate as a daycare in that area because of its zoning.
Right.
Well, it could, but we decided to go for the commercial zoning because of the amount of children that they would allow being a residential daycare. And because of the federal money backing that we have to receive, we cannot operate as a home daycare.
Understood.
So the building will not be utilized property as a home daycare. So we opted to go for zoning.
Thank you. Robin, do you have something? You're on mute to add.
Madam Chair, yes, I just wanted to clarify that this action is not for a zoning change. It is for a conditional use. Just in case anybody watching this on YouTube or anything like that would misunderstand the zoning. The underlying zoning at this property is not being changed, and that's not what the applicants are requesting.
Right. Sorry about that. I misspoke. She knows better than me.
No, it's complicated. So
yes, it is.
Robin knows.
Yes,
and Ms. Tucker.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Robin.
Are you aware of the that there's 13 provisos also attached with this recommendation?
Yes, ma'am. And I've spoke with Robin about it. We spoke in detail of how to move forward from the provisos that's there. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Any other questions from commissioners?
I have a question, Commissioner Brown
Yes.
or Ms. Tucker. There is a severe, real need for daycare in the city, as we know, and I'm curious to know the ages and the capacity you'll have.
We do not currently have any ages right now. We are looking into the child. We're going by the child care, the city that's set up with the health department of how we supposed to set this property up. We are looking into, we are abiding by the rules of the health department and what they require of us. The ages, we're prepared to work with the health department on, because we're limited in space in the back of the building. So we have to abide by that as far as how many children we can have in the back. So we're gonna set up the ages according to that. I'm sorry. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Okay, I apologize.
That's
yeah, that's gonna determine the ages. We haven't quite figured out that yet. We just know that we have to have a small amount of children because of the size of the backyard.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, commissioners?
Ms. Tucker, what was the square footage of the building?
It's 1698.
1690. Okay, thank you.
Let me make sure. 16.
According to what I found at the tax assessor's office, is 1,876 square feet.
1876, yes. I have other, I'm sorry. It is 1876 for this building.
Thank you, Ms. Tucker. Thank you, Robin.
Thank you.
Moving on to zoning docket 014-22.
Okay. Hello. All right, this property is located at 3701 through 3711 Magazine Street within an HUB1 Historic Urban Business District and the Magazine Street Use Restriction Overlay District. While a standard restaurant is permitted in the HUB1 district, the Magazine Street Use Restriction Overlay District requires conditional use approval. The site is developed with an approximately 4,880 square foot, single-story commercial structure with a two-story camelback structure at the rear of the property. The site currently provides 3 off-street parking spaces and a 40-foot curb cut along Magazine Street. Currently, the building provides approximately 1,050 square feet of retail space, 2,990 square feet of spa retail space, and 838 square foot office located on the second floor. The proposal involves eliminating 3 off-street parking spaces by removing the existing 40-foot curb cut along Magazine Street and replacing it with a vertical curb. The purpose of this change is to allow for an outdoor seating area. There are no proposed renovations to the exterior of the building. However, the interior modifications will result in the interior retail space providing 730 square feet in area and approximately 3,312 square feet, a square foot standard restaurant. The restaurant is appropriate. It's an appropriate neighborhood serving commercial use. The staff does not believe that a standard restaurant at this location and its associated uses will negatively affect the surrounding mixed use or residential areas. The conditional use request is acceptable because the proposed use is consistent with the general purpose and intent of the applicable zoning district regulations, and the proposal is consistent with the master plan and meets all of the standards specifically applicable to the use. The minimum, to minimize the potential for any negative impacts, it's necessary that the operators of the restaurant ensure that the proposed use complies with all of the city requirements, including the use standards from the comprehensive zoning ordinance for restaurants. Therefore, the staff does recommend approval of the request subject to 7 provisos.
Valerie, thank you so much. I would like to note that Commissioner Lunn has joined the meeting, 2 p.m. Welcome, Commissioner Lunn.
Thank you.
Is there an applicant available to speak on 3701 Magazine Street?
Hi, yes, my name is Keith Scarmuzza. I'm the co-owner of Sukotai Restaurant, which is currently located on Magazine Street at 4519 Magazine Street. We've been located there since 2010, and our plan is to move our location, relocate 8 blocks down Magazine Street to this location. And
Keith, could you please give us your address, please? Just for the record.
Oh, okay, my home address?
Yes.
Okay, my home address is 1818 Esplanade Avenue.
And you have 2 minutes. I'd like to start the clock.
Okay, great.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. So, yeah, the plan is to relocate. We have been leasing for 12 years on Magazine Street, and this gives us an opportunity to have a permanent location by owning the building. And we do intend to lease off the portion of the building that you see on the right-hand side there, which is the old gas station, and keep that as a separate use. And so the scale of the space that we are looking to move into would be a little bit smaller than where we are now, but where we are now is a little bit bigger than we need. And we would continue operating the same as we have been for the past 12 years. So standard restaurant, our operating hours are from 11:30 a.m. till 10 p.m. And we do both takeout and dine in. It's a casual full service restaurant, and we have a big following in the neighborhood around the area already. We have had meetings with the Turo Bullying Neighborhood Association, and they offered a letter of support for the project. We also had the NPP meetings, Zoom meetings, where we had maybe 6 participants joined in from the neighborhood, everyone was supportive. They only asked if we have any possible way to mitigate parking. And so we have signed an agreement with WRBH, which is located, it's the Radio for the Blind, located a block and a half from this site, where we are leasing 12 parking spaces from them. So after 5 p.m. every day, when we open for dinner, there will be 12 parking spaces available for our customers to use. And also there was questions about the garbage, location of garbage cans. And there is an alleyway that's behind the building on Amelia Street, which will be fenced in with opaque fencing to hide where the garbage receptacles stay. So there won't be any garbage cans sitting out in the public right of way, except when it's time for pickup. And as the planner noted, the parking spaces that are currently on site facing on Magazine Street with a long curb cut would be replaced with a vertical curb. So that could become an outdoor dining area with some planting area surrounding it to separate it from the public sidewalk. And
Thank you, Keith.
so, yes.
Your 2 minutes is up, but it's always important to know about the parking and the garbage. So I didn't want to cut you off there.
Okay.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for the applicant or for Valerie? Hearing none. Thank you, Keith. We will move on to the next zoning docket. And you, Keith, just you are aware about the 7 provisos, correct?
Yes. We can
Thank
comply
you.
with those.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Zoning docket 015-22.
Zoning docket 1522 is a request for conditional use to permit a hotel above 10,000 square feet. The site is located at 1407 through 1411 Decatur Street and at 500 to 504 Frenchman Street at the corner of Frenchman and Decatur in the Marigny neighborhood in an HMC2 district. The site is currently developed with a 3-story Greek Revival building, and the site is currently vacant, and it historically operated with commercial uses on the ground floor and residential uses above. The applicant proposes to renovate the existing site and to construct a rear addition and a penthouse. So the request would also need a waiver, would also need a variance from the provisions of Article 10, Section 10.3.a to permit a floor area ratio of 2.6 instead of the required 2.2. So based on the staff's analysis, the staff believes that the requested variance does not meet all of the 9 criteria for variances of Article 4, Section 4.6.f of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance. And this is because the variance will confer a special privilege upon the applicant. The denial of the variance will not result in a demonstrable hardship. And the variance is upon a desire to serve the convenience of the applicant. And so in addition, the site has a lot area of 11,456 square feet and a current building area of 23,605 square feet. The proposed additions would add another 1,058 square feet to the second floor, an additional 4,330 square feet to the proposed penthouse. And this would bring the total building area to 30,921 square feet. No off-street parking will be provided on site. So the staff acknowledges that this increases the building footprint, but also acknowledges that the site historically operated over 10,000 square feet. And so under 10,000 square feet, a hotel with other uses such as a restaurant would be allowed in this district. So the uses are compatible with neighboring districts. And even though this would expand the footprint, it will help to invigorate the Frenchman Street corridor. And with the recommended provisos and proper management, adverse impacts could be mitigated. Therefore, the staff recommends approval of zoning docket 1522, subject to 8 provisos. And the applicant is requesting deferral of this request so that they can finalize their design with the National Park Service.
Thank you so much, Valerie. Is there an applicant available to speak? Please state your name and your address.
Heather Cooper, Roses Ward Architects, 1100 Poydras Street.
Thank you. You have 2 minutes.
Sure. We appreciate the staff taking the time to review our application. And as Valerie explained, we're looking to defer to the next meeting so we can hopefully receive our National Park Service approval for the historic tax credits we're seeking for this development.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for Valerie or for Ms. Cooper? Thank you. Hearing none, we'll move on to the next zoning docket, 002-22.
Good afternoon. Subdivision docket 002-22 is a request by Angel Davis to re-subdivide one existing lot, lot 1A, into 2 new lots of record, lots 1A-1-A1 and 1-A-2, located in the St. Claude neighborhood of the 9th Ward, in a large HURD2 historic urban 2-family residential district. The proposal would create 2 new lots for the maintaining and construction of a single-family dwelling on each respective lot. The site is currently developed with the single-family dwelling occupying a shotgun-like structure. The rest of the site is currently vacant. It has been reviewed by Policy B in accordance with Article 3, Section 3.2.2 of the Subdivision Regulations, and staff finds that the proposal meets criterion C, while it is clear it does not meet criteria A and B. The proposed subdivision meets the aforementioned criterion of Policy B in that this proposed subdivision contains improvements that exist upon the property antedating the original adoption of the subdivision regulations in 1950. While it does not meet the aforementioned criteria, as the lot is reduced in area below the minimum lot size required by the CZO, and does not meet the criteria as it creates the substandard conditions of insufficient lot area and lot depth. Additionally, the proposed lots meet all the other applicable bulk and yard standards, except minimum lot depth, lot area, minimum corner side yard, and minimum rear yard. The deficient lot depth, corner side yard, and rear yard conditions are existing conditions that will not be changed by the subdivision and therefore can be classified as inherited rights that may be maintained. The proposal is also compliant with the residential low density pre-war land use designation of the plan for 21st century. And because of the lot area deficiency as a new deficient lot condition, the subdivision is being considered by the commission. Should it be approved, the applicant would need to, and is currently also seeking a variance of the lot area requirement from the Board of Zoning Adjustments. For the above stated reason, the staff recommends tentative approval of subdivision docket 002-22 with final approval subject to 5 provisos.
Joseph, thank you so much. Is there an applicant available?
Yes, hi.
Hello, welcome. Please state your name and address, and you'll have 2 minutes.
My name's Angel Davis, and my address is 1839 Louisa.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
I purchased this property back in 2020. It was very termite infested, and I rehabbed it, renovated it, and I was in hopes of building another single family dwelling next door. My mother's getting pretty old, so I kind of wanted to build her house right next door, and learned that the lot shortage was, I was shy by like maybe 49 square feet and maybe 19 and another part. So I was told that I need to seek the city to find out if I can get a variance and approval of that. So that's why I'm here. And thank you so much for your time and listening to my case.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Commissioners, do you have any questions for the applicant or for Joseph? Ms. Davis, you are aware that this is tentative approval with 5 provisos.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you so much. Hearing no questions, we'll move on to subdivision docket 003-22.
Yes, this is Stephen again. So this one is fairly similar to the previous one. The property is an unusually large lot on Painter Street in Gentilly. It's about 8,000 square feet, and the proposal is to subdivide it into two new lots that would be 40 feet in width, 100 feet in depth, and 4,000 square feet in area each. So conceptually pretty standard. The reason this isn't eligible for administrative approval and requires commission consideration is that while the new lots meet the minimum width and depth requirements, they are 400 square feet shy each of the 4,400 square foot area requirement. And so therefore it doesn't comply with the zoning ordinance and requires commission approval. This is actually a reapplication of an application that was submitted in 2019. The Planning Commission recommended tentative approval with the proviso that the variances to allow the deficient lot area be considered by the Board of Zoning Adjustments. And so similarly, the staff is recommending here, and I should say that the BZA denied the previous application and the property changed hands. And so the new owner is back before the Planning Commission submitting an identical request. And so similarly, the staff recommends approval. In terms of what's considered in the subdivision regulations, these are conventional lots. And so they comply with everything in the subdivision regulations except for that minimum area requirement. And so that question is one that needs to be addressed by the BZA through the variance process. And so the staff is recommending tentative approval subject to a number of provisos, including that proviso that the BZA consider the waiver application.
Thank you, Stephen. Is there an applicant available?
Yes, it's Cindy Weinman, 414 Iona Street.
Thank you so much. You have 2 minutes.
Hi, first I want to thank Aspen for helping us through this process and the other staff members we've contacted. We are planning to, when we bought it, we did not realize we were going to be short 400 feet on each lot. We've done it before on other lots and have had no problem, but just with their zoning issues there. What our plan is to put 2 single stories, one family homes on each lot, approximately about 1350 square feet, 3-bedroom, 2.5 baths, off-street parking, fenced in yard on each property, even though they're zoned for 2 family homes. The property's been vacant since Katrina, and what we really want to do is put some houses on there and bring some life back to the property. Thanks for listening, and hope it. And we know we do have to go through the BZA. I guess we're try again type thing. So, thank you for listening to us.
Thank you. So you would be aware that the recommendation is tentative approval with 5 provisos, and then of course going through the BZA again.
Yes, we do.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for Stephen or for the applicant?
This is Commissioner Lund. I have a question.
Yes, please go ahead. Commissioner Lund, we can't hear you. If you don't mind.
Why it needing subdivision requirements? It's just, hear me now? No? Okay.
No, if you want to put your question in the chat, I'm happy to read it.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
That may work just to try to. Why Commissioner Lund is texting that, or
no? Can you hear me?
Coach, asked her to do that while she's driving.
Oh
no, I'm not driving.
And I say that, and I don't think there's even a chat option with this. Commissioner Lund, you want to try one more time? And if not, all right, maybe we'll come back to her. Are there any other questions, or does anyone know what Commissioner Lund was going to ask? No. Okay, hearing none. We will move on. Stephen, is this correct that all the remaining items are for deferral?
It's correct that they're all for deferral, but there is a correction. Zoning dockets 1222 and 1722 are actually recommended for deferral to March 22nd, not March 8th, which is what's listed here. But the remaining items, they are recommended for March 8th deferral.
Okay. If there is no other business at hand, we could start our 30-minute recess. It is 2:20, so I'm looking for a motion for a 30-minute recess.
Madam Chair, I move that we go to a 30-minute recess and we reconvene at 2:50.
Commissioner Brown will second.
Thank you, Commissioner Lunn and Commissioner Brown. This is a request for a 30-minute recess to 2:50. I will call the question. Commissioner Alexander?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Lunn?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay, no, and I'm not driving. I'm a passenger in a car.
Okay.
But my question was administrative, so it's not important now.
Okay, well, if you want to email it.
Yeah, I'll just email to Stephen.
Thank you. Commissioner Stieg?
Yes.
Commissioner Stewart?
Yes.
Commissioner Weberg?
Yes.
Commissioner Witry, I say yes. Thank you, everyone. We'll reconvene at 2:50 and review the public comments at that time. Welcome back, everyone. I believe we have a quorum and we can get started at 2:51. 2:52. I'll do a roll call. Commissioner Alexander.
Present.
Commissioner Brown.
Present.
Commissioner Lunn. Commissioner Stieg.
Yes.
Commissioner Stewart.
Present.
Commissioner Wheatberg.
Present.
Commissioner Witry, present. Commissioner Lunn.
Present.
Thank you.
Present.
We'll move to zoning docket 002-22. Staff recommendation is approval.
No public comments.
Thank you, Paul. No public comments. I'm looking for a motion.
This is Commissioner Brown. Will move approval. It looks to me that although this is technically in conflict with our spot zone policy, and there is no provision in our historic non-conforming use policy, the land use patterns, etc., satisfy me in the staff report, and I wish the applicants the best of luck.
Well stated, Commissioner Brown. Is there a second for?
I'll second it, Commissioner Lunn.
Thank you, Commissioner Lunn. Commissioner Brown has voted in approval and Commissioner Lunn has seconded. I'll call the order. Commissioner Alexander?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Lunn?
Yes.
Commissioner Stieg?
Yes.
Commissioner Stewart?
Yes.
Commissioner Wheatberg?
Yes.
Commissioner Stieg, could you please put yourself on mute?
Yes.
Thank you.
Present. Yes.
Commissioner Wheatberg?
That was yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Witry? Yeah. Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 7 yeas. The motion passes. Moving on to zoning docket 011-22. Staff recommendation, or maybe at the applicant, is deferral till March 22nd, 2022.
That's correct. And there's no public comments.
Thank you, Paul. Looking for a motion for this zoning docket?
There's no further discussion, Madam Chair. I will move for deferral.
Thank you, Commissioner Stewart. Is there a second?
Stieg, second.
Thank you, Commissioner Stieg. Commissioner Stewart moved, Commissioner Stieg seconded, and this is for deferral for March 22nd, 2022, zoning docket 011-22. Zoning docket 013-22. Staff recommendation.
Excuse me, Commissioner.
Thank you. Just making sure everyone's paying attention. Commissioner Alexander?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Lunn?
Yes.
Commissioner Stieg?
Yes.
Commissioner Stewart?
Yes.
Commissioner Wheatberg?
Yes.
Commissioner Witry? That is yes. There are 7 yeas. The motion passes. Now moving on to zoning docket 013-22. Staff recommendation is approval with 13 provisos. Paul, any public comment?
No public comments.
Thank you, Paul. Is there a motion?
There's no further discussion, Madam Chair. Commissioner Stewart move for approval.
Thank you, Commissioner Stewart. Is there a second?
Commissioner Alexander will second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Alexander. Commissioner Stewart made a motion and approval. Commissioner Alexander has seconded, and I will call the vote. Commissioner Alexander,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Lunn,
Yes.
Commissioner Stieg,
Yes.
Commissioner Stewart,
Yes.
Commissioner Weberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Witry, yes, 7 yeas, the motion passes. Zoning docket 014-22. This is staff recommendation was approval with 7 provisos. Paul, do we have any public comment?
No public comments.
Okay. There's no public comments, then I will go ahead and call the vote. Commissioner Alexander,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Lunn,
Yes.
Commissioner Stieg,
Yes.
Commissioner Stewart,
Yes.
Commissioner Weberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Witry votes yes. That's 7 yeas. The motion passes. Moving on to zoning docket 015-22. The staff recommendation is modified approval with 8 provisos, but I believe the applicant had asked for a deferral so that they could receive their national park certification. So we would be
Madam Chair, I believe we received public comment on this one. If we want to read that into the record.
okay.
Yes.
Paul.
We have 2 comments. The first is from M. Chadwick Pellerin, 819 Orleans Avenue, in opposition. This proposal triples the amount of space with penthouse above the building, causing more noise in a nearby residential area already bombarded with noise on Frenchman Street. The structure of a penthouse will permit noise to carry into the residential area, and there is no sound study of how noise will affect a nearby zoned residential area. The plan does not have any approval of ingress or egress by the state fire marshal should fire occur in the building or adjacent to it in such a congested corner, or does it have any study with the proposed traffic flow it will engage? Moreover, the recommendation suggests that the owner will not have to comply with additional parking for many new tourists in the area, already burdened with little parking space, and require overload parking into the residential areas. This is a bad plan for those persons who live nearby. Thank you, Ms. Pellerin. And the next and final comment from Heidi Deichelman, 2263 North Prior Street, providing more information. This is the first time I'm looking at the CPC report. On page 8, it references a stairwell access at St. Anthony Street and McShane Place. This location is blocks away. That's the last comment.
Thank you, Paul. I do have a question that I think would be helpful just for the public and also us. When the earlier it asked about traffic and sound study, who is an individual that would require those studies? Is that the applicant, or would the city require those studies?
I can answer that. So those studies would be required by the city if there was a ordinance that required them. That's not the case in the zoning ordinance. The zoning ordinance does not require a traffic impact analysis for most developments. It certainly doesn't require one for this development. And it also doesn't require a sound study as a general matter. And so, you know, the zoning sort of has baked into it the notion that there will be a certain amount of intensity of use of any development, you know, that's permitted by right. And that kind of factors into, you know, what the zoning allows in the first place. For example, you know, in the CBD, you're going to expect a greater intensity of use, a greater traffic impact, greater noise impact than you would in a low density residential neighborhood. But to directly answer your question, those aren't required by this, you know, to be submitted to the Planning Commission under the zoning ordinance.
Thank you, Stephen. I think it's always helpful to add clarification of exactly what we're doing here, and when these studies are actually requested. So I believe that, is there any other discussion?
Can the applicant reply to the public comment?
Yes. We have, Missy, we have 2 minutes. Is that correct?
Yes.
Great.
Thank you.
This is,
Yes,
sure,
Ms.
thank you.
Cooper.
Heather Cooper with Rosa Sword Architects again. I just wanted to mention, I think the first commenter was implying that the hotel is the full 30,000 square feet of the building. And I just wanted to clarify that the first floor has the hotel lobby, but otherwise is retail, 3 different retail spaces. So the hotel itself, which is allowed to be 10,000, we're asking to be larger, isn't the full 30,000. And also that they were misinformed about Safe Fire Marshal approval. We have received that for this project. That's all I have.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for Ms. Cooper? The staff recommendation then is modified approval with 8 provisos. However, the applicant is asking for a deferral. If in fact there was a deferral, which date would that be to? The March 8th? Would that be correct? Or the March 22nd?
Either could be done, given the deadlines. It's really up to Ms. Cooper and what her timing is.
Ms. Cooper, just so that we have all the information, I mean, understanding the Park Service can sometimes be a slow process. Is there a preference?
We're hoping to be on the 8th agenda. We have a meeting set up with the Park Service for this week. So hopefully it'll be resolved then.
So, yes.
I have a question for Ms. Cooper and or staff. Is this designation a requirement for it to go forward through the process? I'm just wondering if the applicant has an objection to it moving through in tandem with that pending.
It's not a requirement, but we think it strengthens our application. So that's why we'd like to wait on the deferral.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for staying on for our questions. Sometimes they come up after the comments from the public too. Appreciate it.
No problem. Happy to.
Madam Chair,
this
is Valerie. I saw
Yes.
the comment that there's an error on page 8, and that's correct. There's additional text that doesn't revolve this docket. So I do want to say that on record. That is a mistake in the staff report.
Okay, thank you so much, Valerie. I do have a question for Ms. Cooper. When you had said it strengthens the application, are you talking about the application for the National Park Service? Or are you talking about your application today that would then move on to City Council potentially?
Our application with your committee and then to be reviewed by City Council.
Okay, so if in fact there's, a vote today, then it would move on to, you would have the National Park Service and then you would move on to City Council. That's still a process ahead of you. That doesn't happen right away. With City Council.
We understand. I think we're still good with a deferral if that's all right by the committee.
And one more thing, Madam Chair, HDLC also has jurisdiction over this application, and they haven't fully approved the design as it is now. So I think the applicant moving forward with the National Park Service will help that with HDLC as well.
Thank you, Valerie. It's helpful to understand the sequencing. Commissioners, I would be looking for a motion, either as is or as a deferral, or anything else that you see.
I'm I'm going to move for deferral strictly because the applicant has requested it. And I'm sure they know a lot more about the process than I do. So I will move for deferral. I think that is to the first March meeting. Is that correct, or the second one?
The first March meeting, which would be March 8th, I believe.
Okay, that's my motion then.
And I'm going to second the motion for exactly the same reasons. The applicant understands what they need and the space they need to complete their project. So I'm with Commissioner Brown, and I second the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown and Weberg. Commissioner Brown has made a motion for deferral to March 8th so the applicant can go through their National Park Service process and hopefully get approval and then come back to us on March 8th, 2022. And Commissioner Weberg had seconded that. I will call the vote. Commissioner Alexander?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Lunn?
Yes.
Commissioner Stieg?
Yes.
Commissioner Stewart?
Yes.
Commissioner Weberg?
Yes.
Commissioner Witry, that is 7 yeas. The motion passes. Thank you so much. Best of luck, Ms. Cooper, with Park Service.
Thank you.
We will move on to subdivision docket 002-22. Paul, is there any public comment?
No public comment.
Thank you, sir. There is no public comment. We have staff recommendation is tentative approval with 5 provisos.
Madam Chair, if there's no further discussion, I move for tentative approval with the 5 provisos listed in the report.
Thank you, Commissioner Stewart. Is there a second?
Commissioner Alexander, I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Alexander. Commissioner Stewart went ahead and made a motion for a tentative approval as staff recommendation with 5 provisos. Commissioner Alexander has second. I will call the question. Commissioner Alexander?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Lunn?
Yes.
Commissioner Stieg?
Yes.
Commissioner Weberg?
Yes.
Commissioner Witry? Yes. Commissioner Stewart, did I call you?
You didn't. You did not. That's what
I
I
was,
was.
I was
Hit the best-
Commissioner Stewart.
I know who I follow. I know my cue line.
Commissioner Stewart
Yes.
and Commissioner Witry. Yes, that is 7 yeas. The motion passes. We'll move on to our next subdivision docket 003-22. Paul, do you have any public comment for us?
No public comments.
Thank you. And staff recommendation is tentative approval with 5 provisos. This is the one that the BZA denied earlier, and the applicant is going through the process again since it's changed ownership. There's no questions or public comment. I am looking for a motion.
This is Stieg. I'll move approval subject to the provisos per staff recommendation.
Thank you, Commissioner Stieg. Is there a second?
Brown will second.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. Commissioner Stieg has gone ahead and gone with approval, tentative approval, 5 provisos per staff recommendation. Commissioner Brown has second. I will call the question. Commissioner Alexander?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown? Commissioner Lunn?
Yes.
Commissioner Stieg?
Yes.
Commissioner Stewart?
Yes.
Commissioner Weberg?
Yes.
Commissioner Witry, yes, that is 7 yeas. The motion passes. Paul, is there any public comment for the items that are being requested for deferral?
No public comments.
So I think the only change in here when we make a recommendation for deferral would be, I believe that 12/17 and 12/18 are moving to March 8th instead of the March 22nd meeting. Is that correct, Stephen?
It's zoning dockets 12/22
No.
and 17/22. Paul, correct me if that's wrong. are for March 22nd rather than March 8th.
That's
And
right.
everything else would be to March 8th.
And we'll just do two different motions, one for the ones for March 8th and one's for the ones on the 22nd.
Okay, thank you. So since there's no public comment, any questions from the commissioners? I'm looking for a motion to defer some of the zoning docket items to March 8th and the others to March 22nd.
Madam Chair, I move that we move dockets 222 and 422 to the March 22nd meeting.
I'm just looking to make sure that I have my zoning dockets right. Wasn't it 1222 and 1722?
That's right.
Perhaps I can read what the motion should be, and then y'all can adopt it. So the first one would defer zoning docket 1622, zoning docket 1822, zoning docket 1922, zoning docket 2022, as well as property disposition 222, property disposition 322, and property disposition 422 to March 8th.
And Commissioner Stewart, are you making a motion for that?
So moved, yes.
Is there a second?
I will second it, Commissioner Lund.
Thank you so much. That motion, I'll vote, we'll do a roll call. Commissioner Alexander?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Lund?
Yes.
Commissioner Stieg?
Yes.
Commissioner Stewart?
Yes.
Commissioner Weberg?
Yes.
Commissioner Witry, yes. And that motion passes for deferral. And then Stephen, since you're our fearless leader here, would you like to read how the next one shall read?
Sure. So the next one is deferring zoning dockets 1222 and 1722 to March 22nd.
Is there a motion?
So moved, Commissioner Lund.
Thank you, Commissioner Lund. Is there a second?
Second, Commissioner Alexander.
Thank you, Commissioner Alexander. Commissioner Lund has moved approval to move 1222 and 1722 to March 22nd, and Commissioner Alexander has seconded. I'll call the question. Commissioner Alexander?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Lund?
Yes.
Commissioner Stieg?
Yes.
Commissioner Stewart? Commissioner Weberg?
Yes.
Commissioner Witry, yes. There are 7 yeas. Thank you, Stephen, for always keeping us above board here. I appreciate it. I believe there's no other items on the agenda. Just review.
I just wanted to update y'all. It looks like our next meeting will probably be our last virtual one. The governor didn't outright say it, but it sounds like he's going to lift the emergency declaration on March 16th. That's when the current one expires. So just be ready for the 22nd to probably be in person.
Thank you, Missy. That's big news.
And just following up on that, we have an ops meeting, I believe it's the 8th of March. And one of the things that I was going to be proposing for the agenda would be a discussion about what we are going to do at the next meeting going into an in-person situation. So between now and then, we'll be working on that plan and talking to the health department and getting everything in order so that we can go over that with you on the 8th.
Fantastic. I do have a question. Have we had any recent hires?
We have. Bria, can you turn your camera on? So this is Bria Dixon. She started yesterday. She's going to be a city planner in our comprehensive planning section. We're very excited to have her here. We have another hire that we have offer and accepted and that individual will be starting on March the 21st.
That's fantastic news.
Well,
Bria, welcome to the team. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you.
I am not in charge, so the chair, Lori, will be back here next time, but we look forward to meeting you in person.
Same here, same here.
And Brennan, I don't know if y'all have met Brennan. Brennan, can you turn your camera on?
Hi.
Brennan started several weeks ago, and I don't believe we've introduced him to you, but he is one of our new hires as well. And he's senior city planner in comprehensive planning.
Awesome. Welcome, Brennan. It's so nice to see you. I think you were on maybe our last meeting and had read a zoning docket, but it's nice to make the acquaintance.
Yeah, you too.
We're really excited about getting the team back to our lucky number of 29. So thank you all so much for your patience and just for signing up. You have a wonderful department, if I do say so myself. Meeting adjourned. I'm looking for a motion at 3:17.
So moved. Stieg.
Thank you, Steve. All in favor, maybe raise your hands. I wish everyone a really safe Mardi Gras season. Have a great time. We'll see you out there, and we'll see everybody on March 8th.
Yep.
Thank you, Commissioner Madrid, for stepping in.
Stay well,
course.
everybody.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Mardi Gras.